Greetings, loyal subscribers and amazing viewers. It is, as you know, Games Wild Elf 26 channel, folks. Games Wild Elf 26. Happy August to you all, and hopefully your projects are going pretty well. This is a walk and rant. There's a few new downloads. A few new games have been released, and this walk and rant is going to be mostly about that. So as we know, the video quality is not what the walk and rant is about. It's about the topic and your wonderful, valuable comments in the comment section. So here we go to the proper camera angle of the walk and rant. All right, folks. As we know, the huge debacles right now, especially with Sony, they're getting ratioed on every piece of news they put on their site. But they left a trailer for what you would think would be an awesome title release, a AAA title. It was Insomniac's Wolverine. Now, coming off of the success of movies recently, like Wolverine and Deadpool, Wolverine, you would think they would have more than enough material, more than enough direction to take the character in, maybe even to do some honorary mention, callbacks, Easter egg, that kind of thing. But no, the Insomniac team, and they're getting some heat for this right now. Apparently, one of the main game writers they hired was a woman that is very anti-macho, anti-masculine. I think she's written before for some LB QT projects. And so there's a scene, and it's getting a lot of chatter right now. There's a scene in one of the game trailers where Wolverine has to be rescued by Mystique. And something about the health system too. All the comic fans and the movie fans know that Wolverine is practically indestructible. He just heals. He heals from massive wounds. He doesn't need to have massive Hulk strength. He just runs in there, takes a lot of damage, does some very unnice things with some very sharp blades, and by the end of it, he wins. And then he heals from his massive body damage. Well, in Insomniac's Wolverine, apparently you have to make med kits or something. It's the craziest thing I ever heard of for something associated with Wolverine. So basically they're less machoizing Logan, Wolverine, and some of the basic elements of the lore, the story essence of Wolverine, they're just outright ignoring to meet their agenda to make this weaker, less macho version of Wolverine. So now I will say that the game has a high degree of gore. Apparently everybody loves the shock value of some good slice and dice gore. But unfortunately, as with Sony stuff at the moment, I don't see any disc release of this particular game. I'll have to re-examine the information about this game, but as far as I know right now, it's only a digital download. And that comes to the second game that is recent release. Good old Capcom. Yes, our friends at Capcom that make the wonderful Street Fighter game franchise. Well, I'm not accusing them of dragging their feet making a sequel, but they've just released a sequel to Onimusha. Yeah, there's an Onimusha sequel. I don't know if it's in the main canon, if it's connected to the Onimushas or not. What I do know is, given their history in previous Onimushas, they've used actual pivotal characters from Japanese history in the video game. They brought Nobunaga Oda back from the dead to be a bad guy. That's messing with history a little bit. He was a real warlord, very famous one. And then they brought back Samanosuke Akechi. And then after that, they brought back Jubei Yagyu, who in Japanese history had been a famous two-handed, two-sword wielder. Yeah, in their history of Jubei Yagyu, he was an expert at dual sword combat. That's a sword in both hands, two swords. And on top of all this, he was supposed to have a patch over one eye, either due to enemy attack or perhaps it was some strategy he used where he could focus his view on one eye unpatched, and maybe like some of the ninja could take a patch off the eye in a dark room and have better night vision during a fight. I don't know. But he had a patch over one eye, the real Jubei Yagyu. And I saw some of the early footage of Onimusha 2 Warlords long ago. There was these prototype footage where they were fishing with the idea of giving him the patch over the eye, but they still had him only using one sword, so that was kind of weird. Well, the new Onimusha sequel, 2026, apparently, like I said, their habit of using characters from their history, the famous characters from their history. He's either a relative or he is indeed the actual Musashi. Yes, the swordsman that's famous for defeating another very skilled swordsman, but using a stick that was carved from a boat oar. He beats a skilled combatant and kills him with a sharpened stick made from a boat oar. In Japanese dojos, they have a stick similar, not made from boat oars, but shaped like a sword, and it's called a bokken. But that's what Musashi, one of the things Musashi is very famous for. So if this is indeed that Musashi, well, that fits right in with what Onimusha usually does. And he's the main character. That's right, you get to control Musashi. Now, like I said, I don't know if he's the Musashi or a relative of Musashi, but they're very, very hyping that character. And I saw the trailer for the new Onimusha. The graphics are outstanding. The graphics are right up there. You know, it looks like PS4, PS5 graphics, whatever. They had different music or different sound effects going for the presentation of the trailer. So I don't know what the native music in the game sounds like or nothing, or for that matter, the gameplay. And again, I believe this was released showing the Sony version, so it may only exist as a digital download currently. I don't know. I'll have to look more into that. But since they told us that they're not making the leap to digital only until, what was it, 2028, January? Then here in 2026, I'd like to see them putting out a lot more physical disc releases, but you'd have to tell me your opinions on that, folks. But yeah, at least we're getting an Onimusha sequel. But it's really out of left field because of how long ago the last Onimusha game was. And a lot of people, I don't know, it depends on where you are on the fence with Onimusha. A lot of people think that either Onimusha 2 or Onimusha 3 was the only true Onimusha, and that Onimusha Blade Warriors and Onimusha Dawn of Dreams was a little too far outside the legend and not a true Onimusha by their representation. So I don't know where the new Onimusha game takes place in the timeline or connection to the previous Onimusha titles. It could even, you know, and I'm going to put my hand of caution up here, it could even be a prequel. It could predate the first one. But that seems unlikely, seeing how beautiful the graphics are and how extreme some of the bosses are. They're way more extreme than the fight with Fortune Bras was in the first Onimusha. So I'm guessing it's a sequel, and it does look good. I'm gonna cross my fingers that it's a disc release, because you know, that digital takeover stuff, at least as it regards Sony, is not supposed to be a firm thing until 2028. But yeah, I think we all know that the Sony PS5, PS6 is probably cooked as far as PlayStation fans go. The real PlayStation fans, the ones that like to put a disc in the machine and load it up and play it off a disc. Sorry folks, I mean, a lot of people were hybrid PC gamers, and all these attributes that they like about leaderboards and massive multiplayer and all that crap, you find that in PC gaming. So if that's what you love, and especially digital downloads, DLC, and microtransactions, to me, that's not a platform fandom thing. That's a PC gamer fandom thing, because you can find all that in PC gaming too. So, yeah, me, I'm gonna be really watching what Nintendo's doing with Switch 2 and their remaining support for Switch 1. And this company called Evercade, which, if you enjoy retro games and physical ownership, Evercade's quite impressive. Their Evercade Nexus is something to really look at, folks. Get a chance, look it up on the internet, Evercade Nexus. But some folks are hoping, got our fingers crossed, that Sega has the revenue, that they have a team of ideas, and that they may swoop in with a new console with physical content. If they go full physical disc with a new console that's similar to PS4 or PS5 in graphics, then the established companies that are currently going have something to really worry about if Sega enters the market that way. All right, folks, you have a great one. I think I got most of my ideas out in this particular walk and rant. This has been about recent video game releases and downloads. And you guys have a great one, and may the Triforce bless you.